Shadows on the smoky walls, and the railings drip with rain. And I will cross the old river to see my girl again. Through dirty, dusky, damp domains, the water bridged with light, I see the lamplit watches keep appointments with the night.
Hello again, welcome back. Psychedelic here. Hope you all are doing well. I figured we would retreat back to a folk theme, kind of continue that topic as we were talking about the European psych folk, progressive folk scene. And it was all kickstarted by Jonas, Vinyl Stockholm, who had kickstarted this off earlier this year. And I figured, let's kind of brush on a different topic, different avenue of the similar sort of style. And he had touched upon this maybe about a year ago or so, talking about male folk duos. And that's what we got here today, except for one. And then one exception being, there's a UK pressing here, but the rest are all US titles. And yeah, I'm just going to kind of be talking about these off the cuff. I didn't do a whole lot of prepping for this video, just kind of shooting from the hip, as they say. And I wanted to do this out in the wilderness today, make it a little more, scenic. Take the scenic route doing this video. But it's kind of warm today. Yeah, these are titles you definitely want to kind of embrace nature with. Maybe on like a walk or something and stream these titles. So I encourage everybody that sees this video today to seek these titles out online if you can and give them a stream and see what you think. And I think most of these are going to be kind of semi-obscure titles. One is definitely an easy pickup, I think, the very last one. And I should also state too that most of these records, except for the last one, they're all predominantly vocal and acoustic guitars, and that's it. Most of the titles here, a lot of sparse playing, very minimal in style, and this one very much fits that bill, and it's on a major label no less. Talked about this one, or at least I referenced this one maybe a video or two back. Lambert and Nuttycomb, their album At Home. I think they had like one more after this, one or two after this one, and I think one of the members was in East Side Kids out in LA. Got this one from Permanent Records on one of his auctions on Instagram. Got it for a great price. It's got a slight subtle warp, but it plays pretty well. It's just very mild swooshing within the first track on each side. Not too bad. And this is just very ideal scene. This is definitely what you're going to get into here. I think this is the exact place that they recorded it in, this sort of living space out in the wilderness, out in this cabin area. And the person behind this, one of the producers, Chad Stewart, does some of the production here. 3 different producers, and I guess the story goes they recorded all this in their living space, and they had all the cables leading out to this van parked outside, and that's kind of where they engineered it, kind of mixed it. It's kind of interesting. You don't really hear about those sort of things too often, where they have to do kind of a remote engineering on the spot like that, unless you're at like a live concert. But they were doing it from a person's house. So I don't remember all of the nuances and backstory behind this, except that it's just a very simple, innocent, natural recording that these guys have. It's just 2 voices, 2 acoustic guitars, and it's very much a very early morning, kind of like it's just a really breezy listen, like spring's just around the corner, or even like fall, maybe even feels a bit more like transitioning into fall. You get those kind of like cool breezes in the evenings and then the morning with the sunrise. Got tracks like Morning it starts out with, Time. They do a kind of a gentler version of Mr. Bojangles. I think one of my favorite tracks is Mouse. I think that ends side 1, is that right? Yeah. This used to be fairly cheap. but I think the price has gone up on this a little bit since people are kind of in the know now. Yeah, At Home, Lambert and Nuttycomb. And I listened to an interview with one of the guys. I think it was this fella here. And I believe this one, I forget their names, which one is which. But I guess one of them suffered pretty big struggle with heroin addiction and died pretty young. So it's kind of a tragic tale. It's very cozy, very warm listen. It's definitely one to check out.
What's the use in it? There's no use in it, but I'm still trying. What's the use in it? Feels like I'm done. There's no use in it.
Okay, on to this next one. This is one where just don't even hold your breath for an original because they're not coming my way. So I picked up on this reissue probably over 10 years ago now. And this is the UK title I was talking about. And this is just some of the best, man. The cream of the crop when it comes to male folk duos, in my opinion. Just Others. Love that mirrored illustration there of the two guys. And this is through Gearson. I think this came out maybe 2014, somewhere around there. Kind of early. And I think it's the only repress we've had. There might be a CD out there, maybe a South Korean CD or something. So initially, they pressed like 500 copies, but there were only 250 made, I guess due to financial struggles they were having at the pressing plant. And these two guys met at a music shop, really got together and were just kind of bonding with each other. I think they may have started out in, the typical story of starting out in coffee houses, coffee shops, and then just had enough ambition to go into the small studio and record this. And I mean, literally every song on this, you really can't go wrong. I gotta get a look at the track listing here. Opens up with I Do Not Know Your Name. Question of Emotion really kicks things off well. Close Your Eyes to the Sun. There's a really emotional song on here. I Miss You opens up side 2, where it's just voice and piano. I could almost hear the song. I know it sounds kind of, I don't know, corny to say, but I could hear this in like some sort of indie drama romance film. Nowadays, like I think people would pick up on that song and throw it in the soundtrack, but in all honesty, it is a really genuinely kind of a bittersweet, somber kind of track. The rest all kind of just blend together. I mean, they're all individual, but they have this sort of like mourning sort of feeling, but yet kind of bittersweet, optimistic, and it's just really beautiful listen. Use of 6 and 12 string guitars. They use the mandolin, recorder, and the duo is Jeff Twigg and Brian Rogers. And there's about 13 tracks on here, so lots to dive into for a private press. It's like some cheery old chaps there. Got their story here on the back, if you want to pause and read that. It's just a very homespun, heartfelt. I mean, these guys definitely had a very great desire to push these songs out, and for being all originals, they did it well, man. Just doesn't get talked about enough, I feel like. Just Others, Amalgam. And if you want to check this out online, it's out there. I don't think it's on streaming, but I think somebody has made a playlist on YouTube, and it's probably a full album uploads, I'm sure.
Lay back, close your eyes to the sun, close your eyes to the sun, and dream of me somewhere in a land far away. I am dreaming of you, dreaming of you.
Sticking with the black and white covers. Again, this is one I think they only pressed about 500 copies. This is the male-female duo here, brother and sister, which is what the album's called, except I think they retitled this reissue just the Chuck and Mary Parn album. So Chuck and Mary Parn. And I think these kids were only like maybe 17, 18 around this time. Very youthful, and you can hear it in the music. I should say too, a lot of these songs during the late 60s is when most of these came out. I mean, you can hear the youthfulness. You can hear the just struggle in their voices, the desire to just change and flip upside down what the world become at that point with, you know, the Vietnam and college protests. You had a lot of like protest folk coming out at this time. So many young lives were lost during this time, and it just makes me sad sometimes just listening back to this, just like so much potential that they had, and these songs were just lost in time. It's just something I think about once in a while. A track like Commencement, just launching off on this record, it's probably my favorite track. Just washed in reverb. They got like the perfect harmonies matched for each other, being you know, sharing the same genes, in the same gene pool, and it's just so beautiful, the direction that they go. They do a cover of Violets of Dawn. Like a lot of groups, they cover some of the folkies like John Sebastian with Younger Generation. And I guess this was all recorded within a Sunday afternoon, like about 6 hours worth of tape they recorded. And this is the result. And it's pretty impressive. And this is, of course, Mapache through Wawa and Light in the Attic distribution. Got a nice soft felt cover. And I think they had maybe one or two after this, maybe some archival stuff. But yeah, I'm going to try and leave some sound samples peppered among this video. Hopefully you guys get a taste of this.
When I am there at last, will I know why I had to leave? Time is the only horoscope I take. If it's not what I want, then it's easy to fake.
And these two were from Pekin, Illinois. It was recorded at Golden Voice Studios. Some photographs there of them in their younger days as children. And then some shots in the studio. I think the private label was Webster's Last Word, which is kind of a funny use for a label name. Yeah, these 10 songs don't sound antique or vintage. They sound, well, timeless. And that's very true. It very much holds up. So, got a lyric sheet here on the back too. And yeah, Brother and Sister, Chuck and Mary Parn. Okay, got 3 more titles here. This is one that goes back a ways for me. When I first discovered this in Des Moines, Iowa, actually. Didn't pick up on it then because they wanted like, I think 50 or 75 bucks or something. And then after my trip there, I just hopped on eBay and found a copy for $8. I got kind of lucky on this. This is Tom and Lincoln. I talked about these guys not too long ago either because on that video, the psych records you've never heard, shares the same label as this one. What is this? A small label out of Boston, Petrucci and Atwell. Kind of a custom recording studio. Very few LPs on there. And yeah, I don't think this one floats around very often. I uploaded some of the better tracks onto my other channel, Cosmic Minds. So if you look up Tom and Lincoln, and then type in Hector, and She Said, they do the Beatles song. I think those are some of the better tracks on here. But I hadn't heard it in a while, and I just listened to it recently, and yeah, it's very close harmony, pretty much singing along with each other. Of course, doing some of those traditional tracks, some Gordon Lightfoot, of course, covering the Beatles, John Denver, and Reverend Gary Davis, If I Had My Way. But the original tracks on here are the ones that impressed me the most. Really nice use of minor chords that they're dropping in. It's got kind of a moodiness to it, a bit of like nocturnal kind of sounds. And again, it's kind of recalling a lot of those feelings during the fall season, the transitions of the weather pattern and what have you. I don't know, I always relate folk music to the fall season for some reason. It's just sort of like a time of getting together, getting warmth out of the, sipping on coffee at the coffee shop or something. And these guys definitely played some of those circuits for sure. I mean, it's very much in their trajectory of where they're coming from, and it's got kind of a chamber folkness to it. And I think there is some mandolin being played on here as well. Really simple tunes. I don't remember there being any backing percussive things on here. I think it's just these two guys, and I think it's one of the guys' brothers playing bass. Yeah, bass accompaniment by Dave Clapp. So Lincoln Clapp and Tom Hodgson from Boston. Check it out.
Hector of all my children, far closest to this heart, and loved by the immortals who brought you to these portals, laid on a tilted cart.
Give you a shot of the label here. It's a nice orange label. This is a pretty beefy title when it comes to folk duos for sure from the US. I remember the announcement when this was coming out back in, I think it was 2019, 2020, around there. I had to pick up on this, and I actually uploaded the full length onto my psychedelic page years ago because I was like, I got to get this out there. People need to know about this one. And of course, we're talking about Cassudo and Worth. And this is called Of Sun and Rain. I think this came out around, 1968 it was recorded. And I think this came out the following year. Lyrics on the back. And you want to talk about some really passionate songwriting. These guys got it down. I think these two met in college, is that right? I'll read some of the back here. In the winter of 1968, two Riverside, California high school students, walked in with their Martin guitars into Custom Fidelity Company's private press facility in Hollywood and recorded 10 original songs in about 2 hours. Only 100 copies pressed, so pretty desirable title here. And it's just been reissued here on the, wasn't it the Hannock Records? And the fellow behind this too was really promoting it on his private press records page. Trying to get the whole backstory here on Facebook he was. And yeah, got great liner notes here. Nice fold out. As you can about imagine, these guys were definitely listening to some of the big names like Peter, Paul, and Mary. There they are in modern times. Peter, Paul, and Mary, Phil Oakes, Joni Mitchell, of course, some of the big names they were all inspired by. These two guys were. Yeah, I forgot some of their back history. I hadn't read this in a long time. I'm sure if you seek this out, you will find some good info out there. This one's very much kind of got a lot of romanticized themes happening here with Elizabeth, For You, Song to a Pelican. Probably my favorite track, The Gull. The Gull is Flying High. Just a very enchanting sort of piece, really enthralls you into that, bird's eye view of the gull. And it's just, incredible record. Some of the songs do have a very kind of intense mandolin playing. They get kind of ramped up. I think it's like of Sun and Rain and I Would Like to Hear Your Story. I think it's some of the longer tracks. They have these kind of droning folk instruments that get very intense and get kind of speedy and not so soft and gentle as some of the other tracks. So a bit of soft restraints and some, harder edged moments considering some of the folk playing. But all in all, this is definitely a titan within the chamber folk mixing with contemporary folk of the era. Cassudo and Worth.
The gull is flying high, and the sand is blowing slow. Have you any place to go? No. horses running wild.
It's kind of what the original label looked like. I think it was that same color at least. Then on to this last one here. This is, of course, another male folk duo. But out of all the other records here, this one has the most action happening within the mix, where there's more players involved with, I think there's like a drummer, organ player, maybe a couple guitarists, other than the two featured here. This is Jonathan and Charles, Another Week to Go. Showed this one a long time ago. I actually picked this up on eBay for like $1 plus shipping. Don't know what it goes for nowadays, but I imagine this is still a pretty cheap title. This one's a little more Christian oriented, and it's definitely apparent within the lyrics, of course. But if you can get past that, if it doesn't bother you too much, the backing sounds on here are definitely coming from a more folk rock space and kind of a bit of a hazy psych kind of appeal. Nothing too crazy or trippy, but and a little bit on the like British pop edge a little bit too. They got a very English style of singing and maybe a little Everly Brothers if they were British kind of a feeling to it, but kind of poppy. Some of the songs are very entertaining, very listenable. They're all kind of hanging around that 3-minute mark. And I think one of the tracks was maybe replaced on another pressing. I think it was the track Y on side 2. I think I remember looking up that the track didn't match with one of the songs listed on here. If there's anybody that knows anything about that, let me know. But yeah, these guys were from Roanoke, Virginia. I'll just read the back a little bit here. On Thursday, Jonathan and Charles appeared as a duo before 150 kids, and their singing team was really in orbit Saturday night when they took a chartered air hop into West Virginia with a gang of teenagers. Since then, they've been hitting the beaches, coffee houses, cellar clubs, and churches. InterVarsity Records, which maybe is just kind of more Christian focused as far as releasing LPs. Yeah, I'll try to leave some samples in so you can check it out. Jonathan and Charles. This one's a little more upbeat, a little more folk rocky than the rest, but I don't listen to it very often, but it always surprises me and stays in the collection for a reason.
You call me a fanatic because I'll stand here and say what I mean to say.
Share the label here. Still got in that old crusty inner sleeve. That's all right. So yeah, it's been played pretty well. It's like a VG though. And so that's part 1, or I should say part 2, since we're kind of rolling with the folk theme here. But I think the next one's going to be a little more in that sort of light, where the folk duos got a little more of a backing, got a little more production to them, and not as minimal or stripped down as these titles are. And I'm just going to leave you off with that. So don't have a whole lot to share yet as far as the online finds are concerned, or anything I'm picking up locally just yet. But hope you all have a good week, and we'll see you down the road.